So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for Handmade in Britain's online interactive virtual craft fair. Right now, we are being joined by Jac Brazier of Scarlet Willow Designs. She is a designer jeweler maker, and she's going to be showing some of the processes and techniques which she uses to create her beautifully handcrafted designs. We're also going to get an insight to a demonstration of a heated metal process that she uses to create her designs. So, we're looking forward to that. As always, this is an interactive session, so please do make use of the chat box provided so you can ask any questions towards the artists and we'll make sure to get through to them during the session. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to Jac.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite ways to create texture and use that within my jewellery. So it's quite a simple technique that's called reticulation. I use it in, as I said, quite a lot of my pieces, including the ones that are actually available at the moment on the virtual craft fair. So this particular one here is available, and if I just pop my hand behind it there, you can see along this section at the top is one of the techniques that I'll be using. It's also available in this particular ring here. I'm not sure how well you can see that at the moment, but I do have a larger picture at the moment. This is one of my twig rings. Each one of these has a 3mm gemstone on here as well. And then another piece that I have here is this particular ring here. It's a domed ring, which features a small peacock pearl in the center, and again this uses the same technique as well. So just so you can see it a little bit easier, I have a rather large picture I'm going to show you of a ring that I have done in the past. So all of the top surface here has been reticulated, so that's what I'm going to show you today. All the surface is rippled. It's quite a unique texture. You can never create the same one twice, which is another reason why I love to use it. So this technique, reticulation. Reticulation uses heat to be able to produce a rippled surface. So I start off with a piece of plain sterling silver. It can either be in sheet form, which is like this one, or it can be in a wire form, which is used on this particular necklace here. And what we do is, with the heating process, we end up with all of that, those ripples on there. I'm hoping you can see that okay. So the technique starts off quite simply, although it's quite a lengthy process. We take the piece of sterling silver and we heat, cool and clean the same piece 7 times. You have to get it to a particular temperature. You don't want to get it too hot just yet. And this is a process called depletion gilding. Now with gilding, we tend to think of adding something such as gold or gold leaf on the surface of the metal. But with this, we're actually trying to take something away because we're depleting it. Sterling silver is 92.5% pure silver, 7.5% copper. And what we're doing with the depletion gilding is trying to take that copper out of the surface of the silver and just leave a really small layer of fine silver on the top. So I said I'll do this 7 times, quite a lengthy process, and we end up with a piece of silver that looks like this. Looks no different whatsoever. Once we've done it this far, and the reason we do it like this is because we're changing the alloys. So the alloy is still there in the center. So it's still 92.5% silver and 7.5% copper, but the surface doesn't contain that copper anymore. Now this changes the melting temperature of both the surface and the interior then of the metal. So the interior will start to melt quicker than the exterior when we apply some more heat. The interior, as it starts to melt, will start to move and ripple, and that's what causes that beautiful texture on the surface. So what I'm going to attempt to do now is we're going to take this piece of silver, we're going to pop on over to where I do all my soldering and heating, and we're going to apply the heat and we're going to see what happens. Now, it's completely random. I have no idea what's going to happen. The only thing that's really important is I keep the flame moving across the surface. I leave it in any one place for too long, it heats too high and I start to burn straight through the silver and end up with a big hole. Not something that we want in this instance, although I have been known to use it as a feature, but that's not what we're trying to do today. So if you'd like to come with me, we're just going to pop over there, take you across the workshop. You just down there. Right, now I've set this piece up at an angle, just so I can try and show you a little bit more. Now the heat is going to be quite intense, so it's going to glow. I'm not sure how much you'll actually be able to see, but once I've finished, I'll pop it into the water, cool it off, and then give it a quick clean, and hopefully we should be able to see that the texture has moved and rippled. So here we go. What I'm doing now is just heating the silver with the blowtorch, and we're going to try and get it nice and bright red. This can take a little time. All the time, just keeping that flame moving across the silver to make sure that I don't end up with any holes. So we're getting to quite a bright red now. Keep moving that flame. We're starting to get some movement down here. And down here again. Hoping you can see that okay. There we go. There's quite a bit of movement happening up the top here. I'll try and pull some of that down. With this, sometimes I like to just melt the edges slightly, just to give a bit more texture to the piece. But again, just keep moving that flame over. Takes a bit of practice, this. I've melted quite a few pieces in the beginning. There we go. I'm going to leave it there, turn the flame off. As you can see, the piece is just starting to cool down again now. It cools down quite quickly, but I'm going to give it a hand by popping it into some cold water. Okay, so what we have now is a piece of silver that's turned quite dark. I'm just going to pop that into the pickle. Now the pickle is an acid that will take out all of this fire scale. So while that's doing that, we'll just head back over here again. We're just going to wait a few minutes while that cleans, and then hopefully, once we've brushed over it with a wire brush, we'll end up with a piece of silver that looks like that again. So while that's just doing that, I will just show you a few more pieces that I've created over the last few days. Well, sorry, not last few days, over the last few months in preparation for today's event. So I've got some pieces set up over here. So I'm just going to take you over again. So these are my new leaf bangles. Each one of these has been cut out individually from a sheet of sterling silver. And I absolutely love anything to do with nature. So these are brand new for this week. Here we have some of the Sabrina pendants as well that I've created in sapphire. This one, sorry, amethyst, sapphire, and also aquamarine. Each one of these comes out quite different, so I do enjoy making those. Then we have, again, using the same technique as with the leaf bangles, I have the wing pendants as well. So if I'm just waiting for these, as I said, just to clean up. So I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions that they might want to put to me now while we're waiting. Quite happy to answer those now if there's something you'd like to ask about the process.
Hello, Jac. Yes, I do. Well, there is a question. So someone was asking about how did you come up with this process and where did you learn it?
With a lot of processes that I've learned, because I've never been to university to do jewellery making, I've been to informal classes, and this was just something that somebody had mentioned at one of these classes. So I looked into it a little bit more. It's not a new process, it's been around for quite a few years now. But I just love all the different textures that you get with it, and I love the fact that no piece will be exactly the same. You're going to get so many differences within each one. But yeah, it's in quite a few jewellery books, which is again where I did a lot of the research, especially to find out about the depletion gilding and why it needed to be done.
Wonderful, wonderful. And just one more quick question about your inspirations. What led you towards your designs? You know, what inspires you the most?
Well, I absolutely love nature. I live very close to a forest. I have the river that runs down at the end of my road as well, the River Severn, which is stunning. And you can't help but be inspired by the changing seasons down there. When the floodwater comes up, it's not so great, but the power of it is amazing. And just in the forest especially, I love just seeing the changes in the seasons and with the colours. At the moment, we're getting the beautiful, vibrant greens are just starting to come out. And then throughout the whole summer, it is so green, it's stunning. And then in the autumn, when everything starts to drop, again, you get all those colours of the reds, the golds, the yellows. And it's even beautiful in the winter, especially when you look up at the trees with all the branches entwined. Absolutely stunning. You can't help but be inspired.
Wonderful. And one more quick question. What is your favorite, which design is your favorite?
Oh, crikey. I think it changes on a daily basis. Oh, now there's a question. I do absolutely love this design because they all come out so different. But I would probably say at this precise moment, my favorite design would be my Saphiros rings, which I have one just here. It's the one I normally wear, actually. They are all feature a rose cut sapphire, whether that might be a blue one. I've got pinks, yellows, greens, absolutely stunning colours. They have some granulation around them, which is tiny, tiny little silver balls that are all individually soldered on. I think that's probably my favourite at the moment.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so I think that's all the questions for now. So please do carry on.
Right, I'm just going to run away for 2 seconds and check to see if this one has actually cleaned up enough now. So just bear with me 2 seconds. And I'm back. Right, okay, so this is the piece that we've just actually made together. I've just taken it out of the acid, which has taken all of that scale off. I'm just going to now give it a quick brush with a wire brush. And what that will do is it will just highlight all of the texture. So it will polish the higher points and it will leave the lower points slightly more muted or less polished anyway. So let's see what we've ended up with. Okay, so with the particular piece that we've just done now, we've got some highlighted pieces up here where we've got some really lovely ripples. We've got quite a lot of slight dimpling with this particular one as well. All around this centre here at the top, we've got quite a few ridges. And down the bottom here, we've got a completely clear piece. There's nothing on there at all. So I've either missed it with the heat or it's just decided it's not going to do it today. But with this particular piece, it's really good. There's lots of pieces, areas that I can pick from for different designs, whether that might be one of the ripple rings here, again, with all of those textures on the inside. I have made earrings before with this because it looks quite like the texture of the moon. So I've done little crescent moon earrings with that as well. So, so all in all, yeah, that's turned out really well. Is there anything else anybody would like to ask about the process?
Yes, so we do have another question. Would you reticulate a piece of silver and then form a bangle, or would you make a bangle out of silver and then reticulate?
Right. Yes, I have made bangles out of this particular technique. It's part of my twig collection, actually. I haven't got any on at the moment onto the craft fair, so I might see if I can add those on a little bit later. I would reticulate the silver first. So again, the same process as with this one here. It would be a length of silver wire. It has to be quite a substantial thickness, otherwise you do risk with the heat added that you're going to melt it. So it's normally about at least 2.5 millimeters thick. Just take a long length of it and just do the whole process. So the depletion gilding, so the heating, cooling and cleaning of 7 times, and then the final time using that little bit more heat and it will start to move again. You get some really interesting patterns with it, and you'll find that it will almost distort itself, so you'll get quite wavy patterns with the whole piece. And then once you've done that, you can form it into a bangle shape and either solder the 2 ends together, or what I tend to do is fuse the 2 ends together. So with those 2 ends ever so slightly overlapping, you just take it a little bit further so that they fuse together, but you still keep then all of that texture. With soldering, you tend to lose some of the texture. So yeah, fusing it would be better. If you did it as a bangle first, I would find that yeah, it wouldn't quite work as well. I don't think you would especially because you'd have to solder it first. You're going to risk that solder breaking, and you'd end up with the bangle opening.
Wonderful. Thank you for that in-depth answer. Another quick question. Can gold be reticulated?
It can, but not very successfully. I have tried it. Obviously, the alloys are quite different to silver. 9-carat gold especially has a much lower content of gold. It's only 37.5% gold. So that doesn't reticulate quite as well. Slightly higher is a little bit better, but I really haven't found that I get that that movement and texture that you do with sterling silver. So well, yes, I have done it with gold. It's not been as a pleasing result as it is with silver.
Wonderful, thank you. Could we get a chance to see some of your pieces and get to know the price ranges as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the ripple rings that I have here, the little ones with the pearls in, those are £118. This particular necklace here, it's quite a substantial piece, as you can see. It's got a very large piece of labradorite in there. It's got a beautiful goldy green sheen to it. That one's £397. The tanzanite ring, which is this one here, the twig ring, that one is £158. You're testing me now with remembering the prices. The Sapphire rings, which are the ones with the sapphires in, the rose-cut sapphires. Each one of these is completely unique, and sapphires are quite a substantial size, really. If I just pop that one onto there, you can see they're quite large. Those are £298 each. The bangles that I showed you a few minutes ago and the the wing pendants, they all vary in price depending on the gemstones that's in them and obviously the size as well. But those are all on the shop, so you can pop over and have a closer look at those.
Wonderful, thank you so much for that. That was brilliant. Oh, and just another quick question.
Yep.
Are the granulation fused or soldered?
I use a mixture of both, really. The majority of the time they are fused. Occasionally, if I'm just adding another little one, I might just pop in a little bit of solder.
Okay, that was a quick answer there.
Yeah, quite so.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And if you was to choose a piece, which one would be your favorite? Was it the sapphire?
Yeah, the sapphire ring. It's my birthstone, so I'm a bit biased if I'm honest. Yeah. That one's the blue one, and then, as I said, we've got pink and yellow as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jac. That was amazing. That was really great. And thank you for giving us a demonstration. That was really interesting to see how you get all those beautiful forms and textures on your jewelry. Thank you everyone for joining and participating.